So, what if I told you that building serious wealth has almost nothing to do with those crazy 4 a.m. alarm clocks, ice baths, or just grinding yourself into a state of total burnout? The real key, the secret that actually works is, well, it's a lot quieter, it's much smaller, and believe it or not, it's way more powerful. And we're gonna break down exactly what those tiny habits are starting right now. Look, we've all been sold this myth of extreme hustle, right? This idea that to get rich, you have to live this punishing, hardcore lifestyle. But the secret, the real secret, isn't about these massive, painful changes. It's all about micro habits, tiny, consistent actions that you do day in and day out. That's where the magic really happens, through the power of compounding growth. And that really is the core idea for our entire explainer today. These small, almost insignificant seeming habits, they're like seeds. When you plant them consistently, they grow and they compound, completely transforming not just your bank account, but your entire life. So the question is, how do we get started? Well, it all begins right here, between your ears. Before you can even touch your finances, you have to change your internal programming. So our first step is all about rewiring your mindset for wealth. The first tiny habit is actually a really big one. Create more than you consume. The data on this is just fascinating. Author Thomas Corley found that 67% of wealthy people watch an hour or less of TV a day. Instead of just passively consuming content, they spend their time creating, building skills, gaining knowledge, adding value to the world. You can start with just 15 minutes a day. Write something, learn a new skill, start that channel you've been thinking about. The goal is just to make sure that Create bar is always growing. You've probably heard this quote before. It's a classic for a reason, because it's profoundly true. The people you surround yourself with are shaping your thoughts, your ambitions, and your potential, whether you realize it or not. And this leads directly to our next habit. Think about it. If your circle is constantly complaining, gossiping, or just focusing on problems without ever looking for solutions, that negativity, it becomes like a gravitational pull. It just drains your energy and keeps you stuck right where you are. Creating some distance isn't about being unkind, it's about protecting your mindset and your future. So the key is to find the right circle. People who talk about ideas, about growth, about how to overcome challenges. And here's the really empowering part. If you can't physically change your environment, you can still curate your circle. The books you read, the podcasts you listen to, the channels you watch, they become your mentors. You can literally and intentionally shift your average. Do you ever feel guilty for saying no? That's what we call the yes trap. It's this deep-rooted feeling that we should say yes to every request that comes our way. But saying yes to everything means you're actually saying no to the things that truly matter. And that just leads to burnout and, ironically, to missing out on the opportunities that are actually aligned with your goals. So how do you escape this trap? It's a really simple two-step process. First, get laser-focused on what you want to achieve. Your goals become your filter. Then, anytime a new request comes your way, you just ask yourself one simple question. Does this move me closer to my goal, or is it a distraction? That clarity, that's what gives you the power to say no with confidence. Okay, so with our mindset rewired, it's time to build the machine. This next section is all about creating the financial engine, those practical, automated habits that will consistently grow your wealth in the background, without you having to think about it. This quote from Warren Buffett perfectly captures maybe the most fundamental shift in financial thinking you can make. See, most people spend first and then try to save whatever's left over at the end of the month. The wealthy, they do the exact opposite. They pay their future self first. And you know, the best way to do that is to take the decision-making completely out of the equation. You set up an automation system. The moment your paycheck hits your account, a predetermined amount is automatically sent to your savings and investment accounts. You then live off what's left. It's simple, it's incredibly effective, and it guarantees you're building your wealth without even thinking about it. The next habit is to audit your spending. But please forget the idea that budgeting is like some restrictive diet. It's not. It's about intentional living. Just categorize every expense into one of three buckets: fundamental for your needs, fun for your lifestyle, and future for your growth. This just gives you clarity and control, and it empowers you to make financial decisions with confidence. 1%. That's it. It seems like nothing, right? Almost insignificant. But this tiny little number is the key to one of the most powerful financial habits you can possibly build. This is the 1% progress rule. Just focus on making a tiny 1% improvement to your finances each month. Maybe that's saving 1% more, or trimming your expenses by 1%, or finding a way to boost your income by just 1%. It's not overwhelming, but over time, the compounding effect of these small, consistent improvements leads to absolutely massive results. All right, we've rewired the mind and we've built the engine. Now it's time for the final piece of the puzzle, turning all these plans into reality. This section is the blueprint for action, the habits that actually get things done. So you've got all these ideas, you've got this new mindset, this financial plan brewing, but when do you actually start? I mean, when is everything going to be perfectly aligned? When are you going to feel 100% ready? The answer is now. The perfect time never comes. You will never feel 100% ready. The key is to just take that first step, to leap before you think you're ready. You'll learn and you'll adjust along the way. Procrastination is the enemy of progress, and action is the cure. You know, when it comes to building relationships and networking, most people have it completely backward. They approach it with a get mindset. What can I get from this person? But the truly successful approach is to flip the script entirely. Ask yourself, what value can I give to this person? When you lead with generosity, you build powerful, authentic relationships that create incredible opportunities down the line. Think about Steve Jobs and his iconic black turtleneck, or Mark Zuckerberg and his gray t-shirt. Those weren't fashion statements, they were productivity hacks. They simplified routine decisions to reduce something called decision fatigue, saving their precious mental energy for the things that actually mattered. So what can you simplify in your life to buy back your time and focus? So we've covered the mindset, the financial engine, and the blueprint for action. We've seen how all these small, consistent habits are the true drivers of wealth. Now, it all comes down to one single thing. Let's just summarize the most crucial point of this entire explainer. Forget the myth of the overnight success or that one single life-changing decision. Real sustainable wealth is not built in one giant leap. It's built by taking thousands and thousands of tiny steps, day after day, with unwavering consistency. And that brings us to the final and most important question. This isn't just about learning, it's about doing. So look back at all the habits we discussed: creating more than you consume, automating your savings, simplifying a decision. Which one of those tiny habits will you commit to starting tomorrow?
Like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe my channel now. Thank you for watching.